So, once you isolate a city, a Jeffrey Epstein city, the banana boat song. Once you have people in the dark web that are on the forefront of finding the victims or something, they'll be like this. The ones that are the Jeffrey Epstein pedo bangers, they'll be the ones helping the government. They will be. And that they won't be like me. They won't eat fake pork and shit. So, just remember that so many decades of this abuse has gone on that they've had years and decades of people that have envisioned what will happen after all this stuff starts to be like noticed and shit. And so I like to be Satan. Right. I like to explain to people who they're actually looking for. One of the things about the unknown aspects of finding this weird Jeffrey Epstein shit is that they won't necessarily know the internal, like, counter-op to that stuff. And so I like to blatantly expose exactly how to find the exact people. See? Here's another one. Watch this video and envision the people that would be in the 80s and 90s that would be like those people, like Donald Trump. And that they're specifically placed as their counter-op to be the ones that help find basically what would the government may not know, but it's basically the Jeffrey Epstein pedo bangers that run a child trafficking route. They're all like that. So, if they fall into that category and are kind of in a time warp and stuff, that'll be... It's just like these old Mormons that are like still living in a glass nose. They're the same. They're a part of that. That's just what those people are. And now, if you look at this socialite, Jeffrey Epstein people, they're all like that. And that around here, those people will be like that in ways. And they'll be pedo bangers. See, if they're trying to help, it's just where they're trying to manipulate. And that now that in Tri-Cities, I got them all groomed on being retarded, basically. Everything that they say, you know, you could bust them just for their delusions on controlling somebody's life. You know, probably what it's gotten to nowadays. Because they're all groomed internally. Believing that they control people's brains, okay? Through speakers. Not internally in their little pedo bang world, it's like accepted not to believe somebody after they prove that somebody is psychotically brain controlled. Okay? So, that's where they're groomed to detach from reality about how psychotic that specific aspect would be. They act like it would be legal. And that those people that are adamant about that shit, those will be the most rotten Satanists in a Jeffrey Epstein way. Years of grooming went into Tri-Cities just to build a belief everywhere else on how to do that stuff correctly. Just for me and a bunch of other people around here to be like, look at how fucking retarded they are and look at how they out themselves just by their retarded thought. That's what grooming does. See, when they groom little children, they groom children into being stuff that they don't necessarily have to see that they were satanically sex slave, but that the grooming exposes that in like an intuitive way. And so I've worked tirelessly in this town on grooming pedo bangers to be basically outing themselves without actually seeing the stuff in a similar way that they do to target and locate SRA victims of Jeffrey Epstein. Well, they're not smart. They're pedo bangers. They're not smart at all. I'm smart. And that I've dedicated a large part of my life to grooming those people on being blatantly retarded and not noticing it. This is what my Bavarian syndrome research is about. It's because there's infatuated military guys that know about all the inoculate. They see all of it, and then everybody's inoculated, and then it never makes its way to being busted. I mean, this is what it is. So, grooming them to be outwardly retarded about stuff that's highly illegal and stuff that none of them should ever be accessing, and beliefs in being in CIA, all that stuff. Those people are Jeffrey Epstein pedo bang. And that none of them are in CIA. They believe that. That's because they were groomed. Just like they groom SRA victim children into being, in a secondary messaging way, blatant at pedo bangers who abuse them later on in life. So, if they think they're smart, see, I'm smart. They tried grooming me like that, and that in reality I could give a shit less about any of that stuff. But since they tried grooming me, I groomed them. And I used military guys all over the United States to groom those fucking retards. into being very easily noticeable by all of them. And so now that was phase one. Okay? And so phase two is to inform the government on how to locate them because it's without pedo banging into their shit. And then they'll end up doing things blatantly based on an anonymity. And then I went and found like hackers that can get into their system because, you know, it's still a computer. And that whatever their delusional encryption button is, still is just a computer process. And that then hackers get into that stuff. And then they're not hacking the government. Right? They're not hacking corporations, and then they're doing something socially redeemable. And I mean, this is the kind of shit that it's like, I'm sure that the government, they're not hacking corporations. They're not hacking the government. They're going after Jeffrey Epstein pedo bangers. It seems like a solution to me.